Like if somebody wants to get in good in leg lock, let's say leg locks or leg lock defense, is train key bands on because it creates friction. You can't just slip out things, Obviously, the attacker can cheat by holding your pant and everything, But also, if you roll, if somebody's sweaty and you're not, you're going to get stuck to them way faster. And so you actually have to, it's constraints, yeah? So you adapt and then you take the key pants off and then you're like a god, because your timing sensitivity. Same thing I would say, like if you want to get good in heel hook defense, put a wrestling boot on and train with that. And if you can hide that heel, take the boot off, you're like a wizard after that. So you constrain.
Welcome to Forever White Belt. I'm your host, Adolfo Ferranda. In this episode, we have the return of Priit Mihkelson. Priit is an Estonian Black Belt. He is one of the most cutting-edge thinkers of Jiu Jitsu defense and travels the world as a very sought-after instructor. You will hear us using terms like hawking, panda, running man, grilled chicken, seal feet, and more, with the expectation that you are at least familiar with them. We discuss his unique new gym, his adoption of the ecological approach, his thoughts on the various tournaments, and so much more. We also allude to Priit's current family situation as his child is fighting through a serious illness. Please take a moment to send some positive energy his way. And with that, I give you Priit Mihkelson. Priit, welcome to the show again, man.
Happy to be back. It's been a while.
So, the last time we spoke was in December of 2021. Cover all those years right now.
I don't know the dates. I guess I'm a dad, fatherhood already a little bit over 3 years. Just got a new gym, like a facility. We're now in a mall, like a high mall, big mall. Third floor was, let's say, repurposed for hobby, sports, and recreational stuff. So we also got a spot. The whole mall went to bankruptcy, and I tried to repurpose it to because it is real estate, and it got bought, and they tried to revive it.
And this is in Estonia, correct?
Yeah, in Tallinn. Yeah, so there's going to be a big fitness center. There's right now some actually pool, like a billiard, like a pool school. It's a bouldering gym. There's a squash, seven box squash. There's fencing. There's capoeira. There's boxing and wrestling. There's air acrobatics and pole dancing. There's us. There's dancing, 2 clubs. There's Thai boxing. It's a weird concept, but they're building everything, so we didn't have to build any of it. They built a very nice stuff, very professional. We got it in April now.
So are you guys seeing the same thing we are in terms of malls just dying and they're just trying to scramble?
No, I wouldn't say that. I know I've seen some videos about American malls, but it was just a weird thing they built. We met the boss also, and we asked him where's the idea came from to repurpose the mall for different sports. The idea is to get people in, they want people to go in and maybe I go home, go to the grocery store, you take some milk, and go home. So you're going to tie up to that store and they just need people into the mall that's not only buying shoes or just everyday groceries and stuff more. And now there's more talks about it actually, like some other malls in Estonia, they're thinking oh, this is how to get people in. First it was it's a weird, we have a big glass wall. So it's we see to the atrium, people are walking by, it's kind of weird at first. But now it's actually pretty cool that you all the different sports clubs, one wall is, pointed towards the corridor and everybody has those glass walls. So you can just walk in the corridor and just look into different gyms. It's really interesting concepts and we'll see if it's popular.
Is this just Priit Mikkelson's club or what is this? You got partners? What's the name of this thing?
Yeah, it was. I think the COVID ended here 2021. Before I had a gym like MMA and BJJ gym called 3D Training. And I think it was 2021 that we opened a new club because we split the MMA gym and BJJ gym. And now we just have a Estum Jiu Jitsu. It's a very old name from some texts. Estum Jiu Jitsu. And we just do Jiu Jitsu, no gi. Mainly no gi. We have some gi section and some gi nerds. A lot of people more like no gi anyway, because it's entertainment value and everything. Some people still like the martial arts side of the gi, the belts and stuff, because no gi creeps in from everywhere and it's, UFC and stuff. So it is popular, more fun, so to speak, more options. And gi is it still can be interesting, obviously, but it's not like a spectator sport, but there's other benefits of the gym, belts and stuff. And maybe some people do it for martial arts. And if you put a kimono on, it makes it more martial artsy, And yeah, so we'll try to build up, but we also lost some gi enthusiasts, so I'm not that person. So anyway, the club is not only me anyway, so it's a lot of things, that's a history, but we have it now, 2 black belts, me and my buddy Ronald Stimmer, and we have the third guy that's also Tom, our fierceful competitor that does pretty good in nogi. And so me and Ronald, we own a gym, so to speak. We own the club, Estum Jiu Jitsu, and Tom is just a coach. I don't have any administrative part, that Ronald does everything. So because I travel a lot, I do my stuff. So my participation is smaller in that gym. So I even like it that it's more Ronald's face. I'm teaching when I'm home, but I also, now I'm forced to be home because of my son's situations, but mostly I was just traveling and everything else, I'm happy that it actually is more Ronald gym. So, and I have my duties and stuff, but he has more all the administrative side and stuff. So it works.
I notice that you use this word interchangeably sometimes, gym, club. You refer to it as a club a lot. Some places call it academy, some places call it, different things. So your thoughts on that?
I don't like academy because it makes it too official. I have a thing with hierarchy. I don't like the word professor. I don't like the distinguishing. I don't like the bowing and everything else. I really dislike it. I have a chip on my shoulder because of traditional martial arts and the way I was treated and the way this system of hierarchy was used for bullying. I don't say I despise it, but it's very close to that. And I have this my own thing. It's my personal when I talk about it. So people call me Priit, not a coach. I even refer to myself God, because if somebody called me professor, I would say, let's go one step crazy. Let's call me God, And academy is also like, in some way, people argue, yeah, well, this is a school, we're doing something important. But I would say, no, we're not. You can find that mental gymnastics also in other sports. Think about, tricking, think about skateboarding. They're all very technical, you have to be present. You have to, learn from your failures. Everything is about that. Climbing a wall without a rope. This is actually way more mental than jiu-jitsu, I know it's martial arts and stuff, but for me, it's always martial sport. So in a way, I don't like academy because it's too official and makes it look too important. And I think the gym would be like lifting gym, In English language, people call it like a gym. And in Estonian language, it's more like a martial arts club. And I guess if I'm speaking English, then my both words, I use a club and a gym. But if I would use Estonian language, we more call it a club, like a martial arts club, like an English language jiu-jitsu club, jiu-jitsu gym sounds better in English, kind of, I think. And I know some people, academy, university, whatever, but I don't like it. Yeah, I think it should be down to earth. We know what we're doing there. That what we're doing there matters. And I don't think we have to sugarcoat it or make it look something that is not. Our work reflects what we do there, and our relationships, the realness, they're always facing the ego and everything else. And we don't have to make big fuss about it, That's my idea, but I know people disagree and do stuff, but that's because I have a chip on the shoulder that I have more stronger feelings about it.
So let's talk about a little bit of this journey that you've been on in the past 3 years in terms of your jiu-jitsu evolution, in terms of your thinking and stuff. Because, back when we were talking before, obviously there was some very sound principles in terms of like defensive, jiu-jitsu and everything that you were doing there and all the benefits that we were all getting from that and we are getting from that. And your view in your training modality, your learning, all that has changed quite a bit, or evolved, I should say. And now I hear you discussing a lot about, these ecological principles and constraint-led approach and these games and things like that. How did that path evolve for you?
So I'm still trying to figure it out, what it is. I think I've thought about it for a year before I started it last year, August. I have some, private one private call list with Greg Souders. We had some private Instagram messages back and forth. And I don't know why I felt in August, I was like, let's do it. Now maybe I know. It was still a mess to start. Actually, the beginning of this, why and how it creeped in this constraint-led, I don't remember. But however it was I saw what it could fix compared to what I did. Because I know the methods we've used had certain issues that we always dealt with, and I didn't know at the time how to fix them. And then when we saw the eco approach, then right away certain things were like, now it makes sense. And that the method right away fixed those issues. The issues was always talking about resistance, that 30%, 40%, 50%, even advanced guys, sometimes they don't get it, and what is 75. And even, it's even harder when I talk to beginners. I'll go to 55%, and it sounds good to say it, but then in a practice, it's actually quite difficult. And then with a constrained approach, we just don't talk about it ever. It's just you constrain the game or, more to like lower because the resistance is lower if the game is more constrained and stuff. So it's safer. So that went away. And really big thing for me was that we had a okay method, I would say. We were not in a gym that you do a warm-up 30 minutes, then you do 3 techniques out of your ass, and then you drill, then you roll. We did progressive resistance drilling. We had some 8 to 10 minute warm-up. We had 20-minute section of the instruction, and then we drilled half an hour with resistance, and we called that progressive resistance. And then we also rolled. So it was still like a heavy training in that sense. We tried to resist and try to understand this, But the problem with the progressive resistance is also, like I said, 55%, nobody knows. But let's say there's people that don't know, and then I have to kind of control them all the time. It's kind of annoying after many years, and even if it's same people all the time. And what I think was those kind of method, one person was always training other person. If you were learning the arm bar, I was always one that was giving the resistance, and you were trying to do arm bars. So kind of like in my head, one was always holding pad to the other one, and then you switched. But then you wasted also half of the class because you were holding pads for other person. And with this constrained approach, both people have tasks. Depends if both people have, but maybe you fix one task and develop other person up, but their task stays the same. But they still have a very realistic task that keeps the game somewhat representative. So that was the big thing, that both can work in the same class. They have different ideas and different tasks. And so that was a big thing. I was like, oh shit, that makes so much sense. And the resistance out of the window, I have nobody talking about it. We just go. And then tasks. So basically, we stopped doing warm-ups also. I'm not against warm-ups because maybe, let's say, if you have a sparring class, the intensity goes up right away. I think you need a warm-up because you need kind of, even before competition, you need a warm-up because you need that first adrenaline dump. But regular classes, if the games are constrained and safe and everything, you can start right away with some games. Maybe you kill some representativeness, but you can start right away pretty close to what you want to do, and it's live, and So we stopped doing warm-ups in regular classes. So it's basically full 1 hour doing Jiu Jitsu and then half an hour rolling with those tasks in mind, also in sparring. So that's been really, really awesome in that sense. And I still, I have to read some books and stuff. I would say I'm a lazy approach because I want to teach. I want to teach, and I want to run into some problems with teaching, and then reading about it makes sense, So if you just get all the information and you don't have that context, then it might be hard to understand. But I want to teach, then I'm reading, and then I'm teaching again mostly, and then I'm trying to solve it and figure out. If I can't, then I can read something. So I'm slow with the reading part, but obviously I have to do it. And also academic literature goes very far that actually in somewhat it's not anymore relevant to the mat. So, they're discussing already some high level shit that's really doesn't matter anymore for the mat, for rolling and for teaching. But philosophically, I think those conversations are important, but to the degree they're relevant to the mat. And so that's been very fun. And I'm trying to wrap my head around stuff and see how different people use this method, and have all kinds of aha moments. And so that's been very, very fun. And the whole gym changed, so to speak. Tom is doing that, Rola is doing this, so it wasn't only me, but we wanted to change it, and so it was all of us right away on board. So we're always looking for ways to improve, better methods, everything. And I know some gyms, one guy wants to do it, other black belts are against it, and so we didn't have that problem at all because we're always looking for better ways. And it was a quite easy change in that sense. It was difficult in a very many ways. But it was we have to do it because it's better. But to actually do it, and because first of all, I was very critical about the eco message, because I think the message was really weird because, you can't show anything, you can't say anything, everything has to emerge. I'm kind of butchering the message right now, but kind of this is how it felt. And then we were super confused. Can we show anything? How do we make this emerge, that emerge? So the message was really aggressive that if you even say or show anything, it's not eco anymore. And I was like, well, how the hell I'm going to do it? And now we know so much more that you can say things, you can show things, you can be prescriptive, less prescriptive. It's just the effect you want to have, and when and how is important, and blah, blah, blah. And now it's even more gray. Before it was like a solid something, like you can do this, and it sounds like a solid method. But I'm not trying to like say it's not a solid method, but it's really like a vague. It's like you can do this, you can do that. You can tell people, you not tell people, you can figure it out. You can, and it's like you can do everything. You just have to feel and read the group, and everything. So I have my own couple of definitions that I use that are stolen from other people. Let's say Francesco Fonte, my good friend, is like, it says information is information. It's when and how you deliver it. Kittel said, you teach a technique when they don't have to drill it. And it took me a while to understand it, but it was like, oh my God, this is wonderful. And so you get them to the point that the context is there, and then you show it, and then they kind of get it right away. They don't have to like do a lot of those dead repetitions. And I think it's really awesome in that sense. And still information is coming out about eco, what's invariance, basically what you should teach invariance, mostly what's, things that never change. And they're different. There's global invariance, there's like local invariance, but more information is kind of creeping out, about things what you can teach, and that also makes it easier. Different people are asking more smart questions, and also we see more people teaching this way and different kind of handwritings about it, Clearly there's Craig Souders, and it's very, very thorough, and he's been teaching this a while, and then other coaches done this and that, and you go like, oh, interesting. I would maybe disagree with that, and so it's interesting. But my interest is now I want to see different people teaching using this method. For me, again, like I use Ed Ingamels, like what he said, UK guy, really, I look up to him when it comes to the method. Said, in 10 years, we will have a new method that maybe explains something else, and then we evolve again. We can't be stuck in that eco again, And so right now, it helps. There's a purpose. It helps. It guides us, but we can't be stuck to that. Maybe they figure out something else, and then we move. But we shouldn't change because of the change. We should change because there's a reason for a change, So right now, this eco and constraint-led approach clearly helps. It helps to define certain things, helps to explain certain behaviors, and that's why it's useful. But we can't also be like eco-purist and get stuck, and this is it, and, So it has to be very careful of, it cannot be a cult again, that, because there's some uncertainty also in that method, and there's a deep level science there and scientists try to figure it out. There's some competing theories and stuff, and, And so it's been interesting in that sense. That spirit when I feel like I'm excited about coaching, but because being a coach 24 years, it's a little bit like, oh, you go to work and you do the same stuff, not a bad method, but now I'm like, oh shit, I don't know what to do, and there's some stuff I have to figure it out, and it has made it really interesting again. I like put some fire on me also, so it's really cool.
What are your seminars looking like now then? What are you seeing on the road anecdotally too?
I teach mostly using constraint-led approach. Even some things I don't know how I would teach it without constraint-led approach using techniques. Let's say I have been teaching a lot of straight arm turtle, basically NCAA referee position as a turtle position. It's not like it's not like it replaces the old one, head on a mat, but now we have a range. Yeah, we can use head on a mat, we can use elbows, we can use straight arms, and now we know. It's an accident that I stumbled on it and I started to play because I was so bored, and now it's actually a thing and I can pull it off. I can teach it, but I don't know how to teach it with techniques because it's very open, like a referee position is. So with constraint-led games approach, I can actually teach it pretty well. Basically, give me 4 hours, and I can teach it with games, that block the hook and do whatever you want. So I've been using this method. I guess it's a little bit harder because I still like full weekends, 8 hours. Then I can download or, give them more stuff. And then if I'm coming back maybe a year or in 2 years, they have stuff to do, I can do them, but I think it's a little bit useless is bad, but I think I can do more, by inviting me for 3 hours and letting go and not talk to me a year. I think people are missing out. So I'm always like, use me, let's do 8 hours. But now with a constrained approach, 8 hours is a long weekend. And obviously I can pace stuff. Turtle might be very, very open situation. So it's more physical, but other positions are less, mobile, so to speak. And there's still some games and stuff. So, and a lot of people maybe don't do full weekend. They do Saturday, maybe some do Sunday, but the coach gets the information, because what I do is a little bit different. So maybe you can't get it so much elsewhere. So it makes sense to use me. So, and I've done some one-day seminars, also 4-hour stuff, but it's been like a little bit, difficult because let's say a lot of the Jiu Jitsu practitioners are a lot of older, like, middle age, over 30. So doing 8-hour alive training, before the constrained approach, I still did some drilling and everything else, It wasn't like just 2 hours of just dead techniques, every 10 minutes, new stuff. It was just a theme, anyway, but I taught it differently. But it was, now I think it's harder. And definitely, like I said, people are older, so 8 hours of that would be hard, but they can choose. And then I'm doing it also for a coach. And so they can get an information package and they can try to solve it coming months and stuff. So, and then I feel my time is useful, that other way it's sometimes hard because I'm not teaching armbar from the guard. So it's kind of like it's different. So I need more time to get it through, explain why I do it, sometimes if it's a new place. And so, but I haven't changed anything about like seminar time. It's still 8 hours, but it is live work. And I try to pace it in a way that's doable. It's still, anyway, if you do even if it's the older method, what I used, I still recommend a rest after a weekend. So definitely now after 8 hours of constrained approach, and I also obviously recommend a couple of days rest, take it easy, come to class, but just don't do heavy rolling and stuff. Just give it a break because it is somewhat information and also skill learning, like a skill developing lot in 8 hours. So it takes a toll on body.
So, since we've last talked, we've seen the evolution of these things. Some things, different type of tournament formats that have sprung up, whether it's the PGF, AIGA, even the evolution of kind of ADCC, and now we have Craig Jones Invitational. Your thoughts on this stuff?
That guy is a genius. He always explained that as an Australian, he has grown up. He always takes a piss at his friends. They always pick on each other. So I envy that side because I don't have it. I can't have that fine line of making jokes and almost insulting, but not insulting. It seems that he has a big heart. The stuff that allegedly happened with Danaher Demon stuff, how they split, and what you can check out in in Reddit, what's the rumors are why they split, and that Craig Jones took Nicky Ryan from and they had to back him up and stuff. So it seems like in a way like a goofball. He's doing what some person said he would do, like raise fighters' pay, and Greg Jones actually is doing that. And to pick at the same date, and all the reasoning for it. But this is the way to go if you want to make noise, if you want to actually show you can do it. And allegedly they have also next year booked and also $1 million in a line. So it's not one off. Yeah. So awesome to stir up shit. He leaked a message to him that he got literally, somebody said, I'm literally going to end your life. So he's getting death threats. So it's not funny. I don't know what happened. I think if somebody did a death threat like this in Estonia, you would have a criminal record after that. I would call police, and it doesn't get any more real to have a death threat. So he's bringing truth to the public. What's actually going on, how things are done. And he's making sense. Why you're picking a good venue, pay more athletes. And right now the way he's doing it, it's like he pays athletes a lot. The $10,001. Haha, and all the money that can get. So it seems like, I don't know how much the media, but it seems like it's getting more eyes on a grappling event, and also the pit that they're going to compete in. I'm going to over-exaggerate a bit, but I'm furious when I'm watching Polaris, let's say, or other stuff, that the security area is like 1 meter and people are falling into a crowd and stuff. Like, guys, put like a 4-meter security area over the main mat area when they compete, so they're pushing back and stuff. People don't land, and I don't get it.
Even ADCC, like when you're going into chairs and stuff, it drives me insane.
Yeah, so why not? I'm not saying the pit is the answer, but I'm saying I know that the mat space has to be bigger and everything, blah, blah, blah. But it's like referee stoppages are the most ridiculous one because they're going to put you back in the same situation. And that's ridiculous.
Or not, or not. And then you're really screwed.
Yeah, they don't have reset rules. That's one of the idiotic things about all the grappling rules. In the World Wrestling Federation, whatever, they had really good rules. You had reset rules. If you get out of bounds, they reset you to the fixed position. Like even like you're in butterfly, but your back is on the mat and my 2 arms are on your knees. If we had in some kind of open guard situation, So they have fixed reset rules, fixed reset positions. And that made so much sense because sometimes you can't put guys back in a some fancy situation, it's very scrambly, and people have gained some grips and, lost some grips during those exchanges. And I feel like, yeah, just also like changing rules has been, I don't think a lot of people are motivated. I don't know why to change the rules. But anyway, but the pit thing, I think that's wonderful. I don't know how it's going to infect because people, like say gyms, they want to train in an environment they're going to compete. That kind of pit is difficult because a lot of gyms are like, flat surface. So how are you going to train for that? I know Tackett Brothers, I think I saw them building a wall, like a tilted wall, and they're going to imitate some, you can step on it, jump to triangles and stuff. But that pit is canceling the, you can't run off the mat, basically. So I think the pit is awesome. I've seen those karate combat fights, where Craig Jones has also competed, and when they use the pit. So that's really interesting that they actually are bringing, for grappling at least, I don't know, they did it in karate combat, so it's not new, but in a way, Polaris, nobody, major grappling leagues haven't done it. So they're going to do in a pit. So that's really interesting. They have the rules, 10-9 rules, rounds. I want to see how it plays out because obviously with EBI overtime rules, they were good rules, but then people learned to scam those rules, They could stall in there. So if you play with the rules long enough, people find out the loopholes. So we haven't seen the CJI rules in action. And first, obviously, maybe people know the rules, but maybe we'll see if they have figured out the loopholes of those rules. And I want to see them in action. ADCC, what I have thoughts. It's just in my fetish world, even I think most said if you have good turtle, it's impossible to score against you, And in a way, I like the rule. Oh, yes, turtle, obviously I'm that guy that enjoys the information, but also I say fix the rule because if competition has that one kind of overpowering thing that you have to fix it. In NCAA, it's always something is over-dominating. They will fix it, Other way, people are going to use it a lot to scam the system, So in judo, it has happened many times. And they're always going to fix the rules, but ADC is not interested. And IBJF seems to be just fixing all the wrong rules all the time, make it more always complicated. It gets super precise and stuff. You need less subjectivity in a refereeing. And I don't know why that's hard to understand. And so I'm not like a best guy to talk about rules and, what's the right answer. But I don't have like recommendation. But clearly I can see like some things are wrong. But I don't see like a massive body of people trying to fix it. Just you like a scream to the wall. Nobody will change anything, But what comes to other competitions, you ask, I just enjoyed them. Obviously, different formats. Those kind of quintet stuff was interesting. And IGA was also, strategic kind of. I think this is awesome to make it more interesting, And most of them had all been in no-gi also. That's always funny. I don't think gi is dying out, but I wish that gi guys would think something that they also get back to the picture, as a sport that is always in our face right now. I think I'm not biased when I say it. No-gi is more in our face all the time. And gi competitions, they still do something, but I don't know. I'm not saying people don't care then because, when European championships are coming, there's still a lot of people competing in a gi. But it's what comes to like prize fighting, and different super fights. A lot of them are no gi. So I don't know about that. We'll see how that goes. I don't think it dies out, but I really wish that just change the rules. Put heel hooks there and certain grips, maybe 20 seconds, some lapel stuff, let go. You just can't hold person down 10 minutes and just not do anything, So certain stalling rules, because judo had those things, judo, if you grab, behind, you grab the belt, you can hold it 5 seconds, you have to let go. Either you throw or you get penalized. I think in judo, I don't think you can have, same side sleeve and a lapel. If you have same side sleeve and lapel, you can hold it 5 seconds. You get either let go or throw, or you get penalized. So I'm not saying jiu-jitsu spider guard will be 5 seconds. I think judo is a more different sport. But come on, like we're holding grips like 10 minutes and nothing happens, the heel hook reasoning why heel hooks are not in jiu-jitsu because it's dangerous. That went out of the window when IBJF approved that from brown belt in no-gi you can do it actually because they were losing, obviously, meaning that IBJF no-gi medals meant less than no-gi stuff. So that now it's like now we can do heel hooks in no-gi. I think it's adults starting brown belt. And suddenly they weren't dangerous anymore. And I have no clue why heel hooks are not in a gi. Like I've even heard some people say like, yeah, we don't do heel hooks in a gi. I've always done actually myself. We have a gym our gym, you can heel hook people in a gi. We don't do IBJF jiu-jitsu. We do jiu-jitsu. and people compete under different rules, obviously, then they can adjust. But I never found like a good reasoning why you shouldn't do like a helix in a gi. I actually think they're better because it's harder to escape. Like if somebody wants to get a good in leg lock, let's say leg locks or leg lock defense, is train gi pants on because it creates friction. You can't just slip out things, Obviously, the attacker can cheat by holding your pants and everything, But also, if you roll, if somebody's sweaty and you're not, you're going to get stuck to them way faster. And so you actually have to, it's constraints, yeah? So you adapt and then you take the key pants off and then you're like a god, because your timing, sensitivity. Same thing I would say, like if you want to get good in heel hook defense, put a wrestling boot on and train with that. And if you can hide that heel, take the boot off, you're like a wizard after that. So you constrain. Like Brazilians, they play small field football when they're younger. It's a heavier ball and smaller field, so it's easier to dribble, and it's very pass heavy and you have to dribble. And you see those guys in YouTube all the time, they're doing crazy dribbling things, But then you get to the big field and lighter ball, you're like a god, like look at those Brazilians. And so it's like, I use gi pants also constraints, but we went a little off-road, but
Eddie Bravo trains like that.
Yeah, it's always like no gi stuff, but it's always pants on because obviously rubber guard, everything is way easier when have friction. So what comes to all the competitions, I enjoy it. I was really happy to hear that Greg Jones, they have money for the next one also next year, so it's not only one off and to irritate people, but it's like if it's every year, I want to see the dynamics because ADCC is every 2 years. But if every year is $1 million, I think it's just like maybe it even tilts the prestige. So we'll see how the ADCC will respond. And then if they do it next year, I even think maybe the CGI gets ahead because next year $1 million again, And the best grapplers, maybe more brackets even, whatever it is, we don't know. Because obviously there's 2 brackets, minus 80 and plus 80, ADCC has more brackets. So yeah, we'll see how it goes because right now I would say it's very interesting time to be alive, because we have that controversy. And I got, ADCC, EPI is back. I think they killed it. Somehow there was less interest towards EPI. And then, with punching?
Oh, yeah, combat jiu-jitsu?
Yeah, they kept combat jiu-jitsu, but apparently people watched that and the people didn't watch EPI, so had to cancel EPI, I was like, what the hell? It was one of the best grappling events, Then it was kind of ditched because people didn't watch it. And then combat jiu-jitsu was like, they watched it. That's back a little bit. Polaris is doing a good job. So I think in some way, I like the competitions. I like the different formats. For me, it's entertaining to see how jiu-jitsu and strategies and different things work. But I guess also I want consistency. So is there going to be another I guy, every, let's say, next 5 years, So we'll see who survives, if there's going to be money in grappling, or if they're just going to pay. And finally, we don't have any money because everything is always minus, And so we'll see what happens that and what happens to fighter pay and stuff. We'll figure it out. Maybe people actually can do this professionally,
What professional athletes or jiu-jitsu athletes right now are intriguing you or interesting you and why?
It might be surprising. I don't watch so much jiu-jitsu actually as much people think. People send me stuff and also my own guys, they're sending me stuff. Oh, this happened, that happened.
I know you talk about wrestling a lot.
So I watch the highlights, I'm interested of, those compilations because I don't have time to watch 4 hours, 8 hours of wrestling, So I watch some breakdowns, what happened and everything. So those are interesting. I could say that, obviously Diego Pato, and, that's really interesting guy for me. And I think the big names, Dante Leons and obviously B-team guys. And because I know our competitor, Tom, is actually right now in Austin, Texas. He's already 3rd time going there and he's training there. He went there because they have a CJI camp. So Tom is there. So obviously I see what B-team does. So, and I watch also what, Standard Jiu-Jitsu, Craig Souders, what they're doing, or DeAndre and stuff. So I watch what those guys are doing because I want to see how they're doing and how they're acting and how they're evolving maybe. And I'm still going to be a fan of the good defensive stuff. If something happens, somebody points it out, oh, this cool thick sequence happened. And so I have still my narrow interest that keeps me ticking. And so I'm still thinking about it,
What does your study look like?
At the moment, no books. I think I piled up something. Some ecological books. I still haven't. I was recommended In Canada, I was recommended Transforming Basketball. Kabir, that runs the Kaboom gym in Vancouver, and he was recommending that if he wants his coaches to be on bar of what is eco, blah blah blah, So, and they don't have time to read all those 4 recommendations, Rob Gray books, the Introduction to Nonlinear Pedagogy, and some constrained approach. And there's usually 4 books that usually been recommended. And he was like, if you just want to get informed what it is, and he was recommending Transforming Basketball. So probably I would pick that up. So that's gonna be first, and I want to read it because I played basketball when I was young. So that spoke to me, and I was like, okay, what? Maybe I learned a thing or two about basketball also, and also in a context of basketball, explaining Jiu Jitsu. That could be something I understand. I'm more like I would say listening podcasts. Those Greg Souders ones with different coaches, Eddie Gamels, and so podcasts have been interesting to listen, like those Kittel's, Greg Souders, and different guys. And Rob Gray channel has been also interesting, that the way he talks about science, so to speak, and how they explain things. And I think he's a baseball expertise is more in baseball, but he's also like, the channel is really interesting. He talks about other stuff, not in baseball language. So he talks about the science, so to speak, and why things are like this, and what science says, and why they think this, and blah, blah, blah. So
where do you think we are in terms of jiu-jitsu in our the teaching approach? I don't want to call it ecological approach, because that could evolve into something, you know what I mean, whatever else. Like, where are we? Are we in the toddler phase of this? Where are we in a community, do you feel? Is it early days or what?
I think it's still, I would say like this. So I was a part of, SPG, yeah? So I left 2018. I think SPG and Matt Thornton was pretty close, let's say, because they were using aliveness, energy, motion, whatever the third one, timing, yeah? The progressive resistance, everything that I did came from that mainly. I'm grateful, but there was still something missing. So I would talk to this about public before, but I almost feel like they missed their opportunity. But also when Matt talked about it, the aliveness and stuff, some people got it, like we were like, oh shit, it's interesting, For many people, it went over the head, because I think also it was missed opportunity, because maybe it was too much attached to one person like Matt, He talked about aliveness, and if it's his thing, so to speak, then maybe some people have issues, Okay, we can read about it. This is a science, and this is maybe Matt Thornton's interpretation of it. But you can also read it, its science is pretty old, since 85, I think. So I feel like that was a missed opportunity, because that maybe somebody even knew about it. But even I know Adam Singer, I think even he has changed to doing more constrained approach. As much as I understand, the aliveness method wasn't completely there, but we were close. But still, it sounds always like a joke when I say half an hour warm up, 3 techniques out of your ass, and then you spar. It sounds almost like a joke, but there's gyms that train this way.
Yep.
And it's a lot of
tons.
It's really weird.
Majority.
Yeah. So, and in that sense, I would say right now with this constrained approach, what I feel at least, and this is me not knowing everything at the moment, that I feel it's like almost like aliveness 2.0. Now it's like the same what Matt tried to do. Now actually Greg Souders is doing it, and still attached to Greg, but it's also there's science and there's books, and it's not attached to Greg, but just Greg has done it for longest. But I really feel of that training that maybe what Matt wanted to tell people. I think this time the shock wave has gone deeper, and I don't know, what those gyms did before. That the gyms that changed now for a constrained approach, what approach they were. Maybe they were close to that approach already, like I did, and then they just switched a bit. Or maybe, I don't know how many of those gyms were like totally like 3 techniques and out of your ass, and now we do constraints, I don't know how many gyms converted this way, but I think there has to be some least. And now I feel it's like it's more talk about, how we should coach and train and everything else. And I feel it's better. But compared to, I think, what's going on in the world, I think still majority seems to be still, I'm a black belt, I know what I'm doing, Somehow it's very hard for people to understand if you're black belt of doing, you're not black belt of actually teaching. And somehow this is very controversial. People get mad when this is brought up, and you're a black belt. But I would say, yeah, you're infant when it comes to teaching, maybe. So just why is that bad? You're good at doing this. That's clearly you're a black belt. But why do you think you're good at teaching? And obviously they then end up doing teaching, explaining super technically everything, all the mistakes like you shouldn't do. And for them, it sounds logical, but only because they haven't read some books and watched some podcasts. So I think when that mentality is still there, that I know, and I get a black belt, I open a gym and I just can do it. And it seems like there's still, I don't know, I would say over 50% gyms are still maybe doing some kind of older method. And also, I guess the criticism toward eco is those guys are still producing also champions. That, how many champions that Greg Souders has done, So we'll see what this movement brings. When somebody says, oh, this old method and also produced a lot of champions. But yeah, if you have 1,000 people, you will have 10 world champions maybe, And if you just have some people like, poor neighborhood just coming in, doing jiu-jitsu and just, young kids, and they will produce world champions because there's nothing to do there, And so, you know what I mean, some Brazilian stories and stuff. And we'll see how this method helps to bring clubs up and how it changes, because it's still, like early days of this method, maybe a year. We changed in August, but it's, for Greg, he's done it longer. So these early days, and we'll see what the next year will do and how the eco gyms are doing. Maybe they're keeping students, maybe there's some more competition results are better, overall. Maybe because of eco, we bring more beginners to the competitions because they're sparring right away from first day one, and we'll see what kind of effect it is, So, because I understand also the criticism, how many champions you're produced. It's somewhat a silly question, but it's also in somewhat legit. I think it's like a cultural change, but it will take maybe a generation, It could take 10, 20 years that when this torch is passed and then some new gyms are coming up and then 20 years it's weeded out by other gyms. So I don't think it happens fast. I think it happens in a generation. So
your thoughts on like the evolution of like your original postures, which I still find, I use Hawking's, it seems like every day, you know what I mean? And your turtle is, the original turtle is fantastic. But so we have that, we have Running Man, we have Panda, as you were mentioning, baby bridge kind of movement and that type of stuff. So your initial thoughts on that, recently we had Chris Paynes come for a seminar at our academy. He was fantastic. When you're black belts, he was telling me that he's only using like a couple of postures now, and because his primary goal is to get to standing up. Your thoughts on that, and how does it work into your whole modern thinking?
I know Chris has this experiment, so I would say the way people use that, or I don't say interpret, but let's say use that, and if Chris is doing fine by using 2 of them or 0 of them, I'm okay.
I'm paraphrasing with Chris, by the way.
Yeah, I know.
Something like that. Yeah,
I know what he's doing, so to speak. I've talked to him about it. We're butted heads a bit because I'm interested of his experiment. But I would say like this: we know there's 5, and I would say you should use everything because we have found use for those. But also, I know some people just stay in Running Man and they figure out the escape and they don't want to do anything else. So I'm like, yeah, but you're missing out then. But then maybe you have the awesomest Running Man because you have to compensate every other option, So in that sense, like, information in a way also information is information, We know that there's 5 at the moment we find use for. And how many you end up using, I think it's, could be like, because I would say healthier would be like use all 5 and then maybe understand them all and maybe keep using 1. But I don't think just using 1 and not understanding rest of the 4 and just keep using 1 is a good idea. But maybe can somebody pull it off? But I would say, yeah, just learn all 5 and then you'll see how your game evolves, and maybe you end up using certain things less because you are the guy that never turns away. And maybe you use something less, like, like a sitting turtle. Maybe you don't find any use for that because your game, whatever, it doesn't lead to those options, But also, I would say if you're a coach, you never pass on your deviation. You pass on the original knowledge, So other people can make that choice. So if Chris decides for himself that he doesn't use it, I'm totally cool. But I would say if he teaches his group, I would say always let people make that decision on their own, what they're going to use. Because maybe his choice of using only 2, that's his choice based on where it's at his jiu-jitsu at the moment. So maybe beginners, they should use 5. And then if they get good, they will start to use 3, not 2, maybe like Chris, So So I'm always saying, like, just don't pass on the deviation that you think is correct and you find use. It's like, like in boxing, if you like the jab and you don't use any other punch, you should still teach any other punch, because it's not a reason to not teach stuff because you like jab. So teach the whole art, so to speak, and let people make their choice. So what comes to those structures, so I still find use for them in certain situations. They all make sense. They connect to each other. And so far, use all of them. Just depends how much you want to play defense at all, If it's very hard to keep Chris down because he's going to stand up a lot, maybe he's not going to be in side control so much. He's going to maybe turtle more, get up, fight the body lock. So maybe he doesn't find use for sort of like Hawkings and stuff, He's just going to turtle, maybe whatever, get up. So yeah, I'm using that less. Yeah, because your game is that you're discovering that standing up part. You try to build it, and then because I want to just stay in side control, I don't want to stand up because I'm old, a little bit fat right now. So, and I want to just stay there until you quit. So I'm gonna make you quit when you're top of me. So I'm still gonna develop that information, and you can use it as much as you can or use less. I think beginners still find it useful, because they're not in a position. I know Chris teaches this way also, like he teaches in the gym only getting up. But I would say also beginners are in a position where it's not possible. They need to learn how to, stay safe and maybe then get up also, So I don't criticize Chris's choice. I think it's a fun experiment. I want to see because he has done other experiments in his gym. We'll see if maybe this is a final one that's the style they're gonna have. But I would expect also that Chris will do this experiment and then discover something else and pushes that, and then finally, the gym evolves also. So I'm just watching outside and seeing what he does and where he ends up, and maybe I steal the end product.
I do love that you give breath, or you're totally cool with, but you call it butting heads with your black belts or your students and allowing them to experiment and disagreeing with you.
They're grown men, and I don't like that. I always mess with him, because it's a joke for me. It's like when I say, oh, you're my black belt, and I didn't do it. He did it. And always when I give up black belt, I always tell, now you're in your freedom, because till the black belt, you're stuck to somebody, and but after black belt, you're free. And jokingly, because I actually think opposite, that you're free. Jokingly, always, like if somebody does something good, I always say, oh, that's my black belt. If they do something shit, I will not know them, But they're free to do whatever they want, and I don't control what they should do or shouldn't do. It's like, I think it's too much stress for me and too much overreach, so to speak, to control somebody like this. And I think it's exhausting. And if I would start to, I think I've given out now like 15 black belts, and to control everybody. So they would stay in some line, whatever. As much as we joke about Priit building cult and stuff, but it's always the opposite. It's like, to build a cult, but actually want the most freedom. So
was there anything that you want to discuss that we didn't cover?
Still, the research is going on. I think I'm kind of like almost 100% sure, whatever, but I put it also on my site, Defensive BJJ, information about close guard top, because that's very close to my heart. And I still, this day, think that close guard meta is broken. And that's my burden of proof. It's kind of big words because most people don't think that. And I will say if I'm wrong also, but I'm still thinking close guard top is actually broken, a system. And I'm trying to fix it. And it's been happening already 5 years. And but I'm trying to fix it. And it seems like I have more those thoughts, and I'm interested of the future, so to speak, and maybe able to teach it in some point. But that's in what comes to defensive BJJ and stuff, that's the area that's I'm really trying to develop. And because there's usually nothing on my site about that close guard top, mostly it's a mount bottom, or side control back stuff. And obviously close guard top is also defensive position, you're in somebody's guard. So now it seems like I have some voice about it, and maybe it will turn out to be something. Yeah. So we'll see, but there's a different topic why I think it's broken, and so that's my burden of proof. So
I think it's interesting that you brought that up, actually, because I've spoken to a couple different no-gi super high level instructors, coaches, and professional athletes, and some of them have, when I bring up like Jiu Jitsu dogma, some of them have mentioned closed guard no-gi specifically not being everything that it was sort of brought up to be in terms of like the gi, originally that's what they teach first thing, you know what I mean? So your thoughts on that?
So I don't think closed guard is that fundamental, because, if I ask a simple question, what is for fundamental, close guard or open guard? The answer is open guard is more fundamental because without close guard, you can play Jiu-Jitsu, you know? Without open guard, you can't. So in that sense, but it's really weird that because if you start Jiu-Jitsu, it's always close guard, you know? Close guard, Kimura and stuff. But then when you watch competitions, it's not. Close guard, basically, there's some close guard experts, you know, obviously also more in gi. But close guard, basically, it's very, very difficult to do at anything in a fight. So why it's so dominant? And plus, also close guard is weird because it changes in MMA. So that's what I'm saying about the meta, because I'm trying to figure out, you know, build a system that explains no gi, self-defense, MMA, let's say. Because MMA close guard, they're stacking, yeah? And typical close guard, you're posturing up. And everybody says if you posture down, it's like, you know, leaning head to head, you know, ear to ear posturing. It's like bad, but it's like we see it destroys guards in MMA, you know? People use it to stack through the guard, and then I'm not saying it won't work, but it's very difficult, you know? So they're standing up stuff, they're falling back to leg locks, they're stacking through the guard, you know, passing also. Even Roger Gracie has some videos in YouTube also when he shows passing through the close guard actually, you know? But it's always not very popular. And then there's, you know, close guard top, is it toes on the mat, is it seal feet? You know, with a gi, you grab the gi, but in no gi, what do you do? You know, there's some armpit stuff going on. I feel like close guard is a lot of opinionated, you know? People do this, people do that, people do this. They always try to compensate, and there's not like something that dominates. People still think, you know, that the collar, you grab the gi and pants, but then Keenan says nothing else works. You grab the lapels and push it to the armpits, you know? That's the best. And then it's like some old respectful dude saying, no, get the gi, you know, get the pants. And then it's toes on the mat or no toes on the mat. It's a mess. And then we see, if you do this information and then you go MMA, it won't work anymore. You have to do it differently. So why it's different? But maybe we can do MMA stuff also in gi and no gi, you know? So why it's so different? It's like in grappling sports, we're keeping posture up, but in pinning sports, and let's say even in striking sports, we're keeping it, you know, posture down most likely. So it's like, I want to understand how to do it. And there's very few actually information out there it's not only me thinking about it. There's some stackers in close guard, obviously. But for me, I haven't seen that cohesive system that explains everything. Most likely somebody prefers this, somebody prefers that, you know, but I want to understand the bigger picture, you know. It's like with leg locks, you know, some people say, oh, I don't like 50-50. Yeah, no shit, but you need it, you know. It's like maybe you like your deviation, maybe you like inside, you know, whatever the controls and outside, but still 50-50 is part of the leg lock meta, you know. And your deviation might not be the best version. So for people in your gym, you have to teach everything, including 50-50. So they could make their choice, you know. So in close guard also, we should teach everything and not what we think is best. Maybe some people are good in stacking. Some people are standing up. Some people could open on their knees, you know. Some people fall to leg locks. I don't know, you know. So I'm interested of that. So that's why, and I have my first thoughts on a site, and we're trying to build on them and test also, and then we'll see what happens.
Where can the listeners and viewers get more information about you and everything that you're up to and thinking?
So obviously, Defensive BJJ, then Fanatics. I have some DVDs about, you know, hitchhiker, reverse hitchhike DVDs, you know, regular and reverse hitchhike. Always I'm in Facebook, Instagram. People can also support us or whatever by merch. They see me turtling. They're hating that Preet shirts. And then Dedicated Grappler. At the moment, it's a Etsy store. So there's some merch there also. So that's new. And people can support that, you know, then Preet and that turtling thing. And also, yeah, I guess I'm traveling around. So see my schedule, see my Facebook where I'm going. And that's also where people can meet me and, you know, socialize with an Estonian guy.
Well, Preet, thank you so much, man. You know, our prayers to your family. And can't wait to see you again. And thank you for making the time. And everyone, I am your host, Adolfo Ferranda. Check us out on all the socials and everything. Give us a thumbs up, subscribe. You know the routine. Check out our merch at teespring.com/forever-white-belt. Consider becoming a VIP member. It's like 99 cents a month. You get early episodes uncensored and more stuff to come. So, Preet, again, man, thanks so much for your time. It was an honor. Can't wait to do it again, man.
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
All right. Take care, everyone. See you.